You ever notice how odd this is? We spend so much time debating boomers and millennials, and we analyze Gen Z as if they are a brand new discovery. Yet there's a whole generation sitting quietly in between, rarely discussed, and almost unseen. Generation X, born roughly from 1965 to 1980. They're the older colleagues who don't make a fuss, the parents who can seem emotionally distant at times, the people who helped build the internet but don't feel the need to share every meal online. What most people never hear is this: their mindset may be the most misunderstood of any generation still around. They were the first large group of kids who regularly came home to no adults. Imagine it's 1978. You're 7 years old. You walk into a silent house because both parents are at work. There's no smartphone, no doorbell camera, no way for anyone to check in. You unlock the door yourself, grab something to eat, finish your homework alone, and then you wait. Research published in the American Journal of Orthopsychiatry showed that by 1983, around 7 million children between 5 and 12 were routinely unsupervised after school. That's millions of kids learning early that no one is guaranteed to be there. That empty house didn't just teach independence. It burned in a deeper lesson. Choices have consequences, and you can't always explain your way out of them. When parents finally got home, the situation was clear. You always knew where you stood. Rules were strict and immediate. Feelings weren't up for discussion. Step out of bounds, and the response came fast. Psychologists describe this kind of upbringing as a high-contingency environment, where actions and results are tightly connected with no delay. Your brain learns to process cause and effect instantly. That's why Gen X often plans several moves ahead in ways that confuse younger generations. They also watched their parents promise stability, only to see divorce rates explode through the 70s and 80s. They saw loyalty to employers rewarded with layoffs and pink slips. They were told the formula was simple: work hard, play by the rules, and things will turn out fine. Then the rules shifted right in front of them. Psychologists might label it defensive pessimism. Gen X would just call it realism. It's not pure cynicism, it's more like emotional armor. They hope for the best, but deep down they're ready for disappointment, because that's what experience taught them. That mindset also explains why they're mostly quiet online. They grew up when privacy wasn't a luxury. It was normal. If you messed up, only a few people knew, and it stayed that way. No phones, no viral clips, just uncomfortable memories tucked away in a basement or a parking lot. Sharing your entire life with strangers doesn't feel exciting to them. It feels dangerous. This isn't about being bad with technology. It's about learning early that staying private often meant staying safe. Gen X turned irony into protection. Make a joke, keep distance, laugh before it hurts. And the reason for that is clear. They grew up under the shadow of the Cold War. Teachers spoke about nuclear disaster as if it were routine. Schools practiced duck and cover drills, pretending a desk could save anyone. When adults act like everything could collapse at any moment while telling you not to worry, you learn to hold opposing ideas at once. You also learn to keep your guard up. And here's the interesting part. In spite of all this, Gen X developed a work style that still stands out today. They don't announce it. They don't broadcast it. They simply get the job done. That attitude was shaped early through jobs that now feel almost like relics from another era. Early mornings delivering newspapers, bagging groceries after school, running a fast food register where, if the system froze, you had to count change in your head. These jobs weren't meant to impress anyone. They were blunt lessons in how the adult world works, where a 12-year-old could be trusted to serve an entire neighborhood. They watched their parents get crushed by corporate shakeups, so blind loyalty to companies never made sense to them. Instead, they became loyal to their own skill. They know layoffs are out of their control. What they can control is whether they're indispensable when cuts happen, and that's where the Gen X paradox lives. They are deeply independent, yet quietly cooperative. They won't ask for help. They'll solve it themselves, because they've been doing that since childhood. But if you need help, they'll step in calmly, no attention, no announcement online. That behavior grew out of necessity. When parents weren't around, friendships mattered more. Those bonds had to be strong. And their relationship with authority? That's complicated too. They don't respect titles. They respect ability. If you earned your role through real competence, they'll back you completely. If you're hiding behind a title without knowing what you're doing, their patience disappears fast. Gen X learned to question authority because they watched powerful, unqualified leaders make disastrous choices throughout their youth. From Watergate to Iran-Contra to the botched response to the AIDS crisis. They also faced economic shocks their parents largely avoided. The youngest Gen Xers finished college just as the dot-com bubble collapsed. The oldest were finally gaining momentum when the 2008 financial crisis hit. They've been shaken financially more than once. That's why many of them rely on multiple income streams. Not because they're natural entrepreneurs, but because experience taught them that stability never lasts. Researchers note that Gen X often shows extreme self-reliance that edges into anxiety. They handle crises exceptionally well, but that strength often comes from refusing to lean on anyone else. Studies published in the Journal of Adult Development show that Gen X is less likely to seek social support during stressful times, not because they lack support, but because asking feels like failure. That same mindset shaped how they learned. Before the internet, information wasn't instant. Gen X spent hours in libraries, digging through card catalogs to find one book that might hold the answer. Knowledge had weight. It demanded effort and time, and because of that, it stuck. Cognitive psychologists describe this as deeper encoding, where hard-earned information embeds more firmly in memory. They also learned by fixing things themselves. When a bike chain slipped or the TV flickered, you didn't call for help. You flipped the bike over, grabbed a screwdriver, got your hands dirty, and figured it out. That built a sense that the physical world was understandable, that patience and persistence could solve most problems. Now they're watching their kids grow up in a completely different environment. Constant supervision, helicopter parenting. Every moment documented online. They gave their children the attention they never had, but sometimes they worry they went too far. Too protected. Too dependent. Too visible. Because to Gen X, visibility equals vulnerability. The reality is this: Generation X may be the last group that truly knows what it's like to sit alone with your thoughts, to be bored, to solve problems without searching for answers online. They aren't better than other generations, just different, formed in a brief moment when the old world was fading and the new one hadn't fully arrived. They're the bridge generation. And bridges rarely get recognition. They simply hold everything together, quietly, without expecting applause. And maybe that's the most Gen X trait of all, not caring whether anyone notices. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing. And if you want to support more deep dives like this, tap the join button and become a channel member. Your support truly means a lot. Subscribe to the Cognitive Lab channel and hit the like button.